Chapter 4. Could things get any worse? Tyray wondered. It didn't seem possible. Tyray lay on the bed so full of anger that he could hardly keep his body still, and he felt near ready to explode. The only thing that gave him comfort was the idea that it was all going to change as soon as he got a gun. Just then there was a soft rap on Tyray's door. "Tyray," Mom called out from the hall. "What do you want?" Tyray moaned, refusing to get up from his bed. "May I come in, honey?" Tyray rolled his eyes. It angered him when his mother treated him like a child. Reluctantly, Tyray swung his legs over the side of the bed, got up, and let her in. "What do you want?" he repeated. "I got stuff to do, and I need to concentrate." "I'm just worried about you, Tyray. You seem real unhappy," Mom said. "I don't like to see my baby like that." "I'm fine," Tyray said. "Don't worry about me, Mom." "You sure? Because if there's something you need to talk about, I'm here." "I got nothing to say," Tyray replied, looking down. "Honey, I love you. You know that. I'd do anything in the world for you," Mom said, moving slowly towards the door. "Don't call me honey, okay?" Tyray muttered. Mom reluctantly left the room, and Tyray almost felt sorry for her. She was just as scared of Dad as he was, yet she stood by Dad, allowing him to rule the family even when she knew he was wrong. When Tyray was a boy, he watched from a darkened hallway as his father yelled at her. "You don't sweet-talk no one, you understand me, woman?" Dad fumed. Mom whimpered. Tyray looked closer and saw that his father had her by the hair, and every time he wanted to make a point, he gave her a sharp yank. "You don't sweet-talk no butcher, no fool coming around selling insurance, nobody, understand?" Another harder yank. Mom's head jerked back. This time she did not even whimper. "You're my woman, you understand? I don't want no mess from you," Dad said with a final yank of her hair. "Gil, I never did anything for you to be jealous about. Never," Mom cried. Dad slapped her then. It had been many years ago, but Tyray could still hear the slap. Mom fell with the force of the blow, and Tyray remembered sucking in his breath. He waited to see what Mom would do. Would she grab a frying pan and whack Dad over the head? Grab her things and take Tyray and Warren to Grandma's house? He waited for her to do something, but she did nothing. The next morning she made fried eggs and bacon just the way Dad liked them, as if nothing had happened. Tyray hated his father for that slap, and part of him hated his mother too for not doing anything and for allowing him to slap Tyray countless times. Sure, she was scared of Dad. Tyray knew that. But she should have done something, Tyray thought. Anything. On Monday morning, the phone rang before Tyray left for school. Mom answered it. "That was Mrs. Hodden," she said. "She wanted to apologize for what her grandson did Saturday." Tyray felt his face burn hot with shame. "I don't know what she's talking about," he said bitterly, struggling to maintain a few shreds of pride in front of his mother. "She just talking crazy. I heard that lady drinks all day, so she probably all drunk or something." "She said 4 boys grabbed you, and her grandson was one of them." "Shut up!" Tyray screamed, clamping his hands over his ears. Then he closed his eyes and struggled to calm down. His mind raced with images and sounds. Darrell Mercer's face, Cedric's laughter, his jacket being torn off him and thrown into the air, his father's booming voice. His mother stared at him, her expression a mixture of sadness and concern. Just seeing her made him feel worse. He felt as if the entire world were somehow trying to insult him. Without a word, he rushed out. All that kept his feet moving was the gun. Once he had it, everything would get better, Tyray reassured himself as he made his way to Bluford. After school, Tyray resumed his search. He went down to 43rd Street and found Jupiter James, Londell James's younger brother. If anyone had a gun, it would have to be the James brothers. Londell always seemed to have guns around, and from what Tyray heard in the neighborhood, Jupiter was following in his big brother's footsteps. "Hey, what's up?" Tyray greeted Jupiter, trying to appear cool. Though they had spoken a few times before, Tyray knew a lot about Jupiter. His mom dealt drugs, and his father had been stabbed to death in a dispute over stolen goods. Londell served time in prison for attempted murder, and Jupiter already had a rap sheet a mile long. Tyray had hassled people for years, but it was mostly kid stuff compared to what the Jameses did. But all that was about to change. "What you want, boy?" Jupiter barked, eyeing Tyray warily. I'm Tyray Hobbs," he stammered, his voice cracking slightly. "So?" Jupiter said. "Am I supposed to know you or something?" "I'm looking for a gun," Tyray blurted, feeling foolish. "What makes you think I'm the local arsenal, fool?" Jupiter asked. Tyray hesitated. Up until a week ago, no one spoke to him in such a way, no one except his father. For an instant, Tyray wondered if he could overpower Jupiter and steal a gun from him. The two were nearly the same size. But then Tyray remembered Jupiter's reputation and his own broken hand. Now was not the time to fight. "With your brother and all," Tyray began, I ain't my brother," Jupiter scowled, "and I don't know you. Maybe you're working with the cops trying to bust me." "No, I just need a gun." "What for?" Jupiter asked, a sneer on his lips. "You looking to join a gang? 'Cause you look more like a Boy Scout to me." "No," Tyray said, swallowing hard and trying to ignore Jupiter's comment. "I got a score to settle. Some guys at school are hassling me, and I need to protect myself." Jupiter glared at Tyray for several seconds before he finally spoke. "Know what, bro? You scare me. You got a psycho look in your eyes." "Look, I need a gun and I need one now. You gotta help me. This one guy at school, he took me down, and now the whole school's dogging me." Jupiter paused thoughtfully. "Let me look around. You know it's gonna cost you." "How much?" "50, Jupiter said. "And that's only for a cheap gun. Nothing fancy." "50?" Tyray groaned. It was the same price Bones had mentioned. In all the excitement to get a gun, Tyray forgot about the money he would need to pay for it. He wouldn't admit it to Jupiter, but he only had $2 to his name. "Yeah, you figuring to get a gun for chump change, boy?" Jupiter asked in a nasty voice. "If you want a gun for a few bucks, go to the toy store." No, I ain't complaining," Tyray said quickly. He just did not yet know where he would get the money. "Don't waste my time unless you got the cash," Jupiter growled, turning away quickly. "I'll get the money and I'll be back," Tyray said. Jupiter did not acknowledge Tyray's response. Instead, he strolled away in silence. Tyray knew jokes about him continued to circulate through Bluford. In English class, students quietly laughed at him until Mr. Mitchell arrived. Tyray stewed in anger as the class began and sat almost motionless for the entire 50 minutes of the period. Instead of taking notes or answering questions, he drew sharp, angular designs onto a blank page of his notebook. "Can I talk to you for a minute, Tyray?" the teacher asked at the end of class. Tyray rolled his eyes as students rushed out of the classroom. Mr. Mitchell was one of the most well-liked teachers at Bluford. He was sharp, too. Hardly anything got past him. When Tyray taunted Darrell, Mr. Mitchell was the only one who caught him in the act. And he was also nosy, Tyray thought, intruding into students' lives when he thought they needed help. He had done this with Darrell, and Tyray was sure he was going to try it with him. He had no time for the nosy teacher's charity. "What for?" Tyray challenged. "I didn't do nothing." "A lot has happened to you in the last couple of weeks. How are you doing with everything?" Mr. Mitchell asked. "I'm fine," Tyray replied, his face burning in anger and frustration. He wanted to scream, "None of your business," but instead he added, "My wrist is healing up good. The doctor says I can get the cast off in 4 weeks." "That's great," Mr. Mitchell said, pausing briefly. "Listen, I know that was a pretty rough experience you went through. If someone's making it difficult for you—" "Everything's cool," Tyray replied abruptly, leaning back in a chair and staring at his cast. How could he explain that everything and everyone was making his life miserable? "You don't know jack about me and you never will," he wanted to say. "Tyray, look," Mr. Mitchell said, "I know you're hurting, and I just want you to know that I've been there. I've been right where you are now. When I was your age, I built a wall around myself too. A lot of guys do that because they believe that it's the manly way, but it's not. The manly way is to admit that you've got things tearing you up on the inside. That's what being a man means. It's not about hiding your feelings and being angry at everyone. It's about dealing with them so you can be stronger than you used to be. Tyray resented Mr. Mitchell. He had no right to poke and prod him. Yes, things were difficult, and yes, he was hurting on the inside, but Tyray had survived all his life without Mr. Mitchell telling him how to live. He was not about to spill his guts to a man wearing a Tweety bird tie. But as much as Tyray did not want to admit it, Mr. Mitchell had struck a nerve. Tyray felt a rush of sadness, one which took all his concentration to push back. He could not pour his heart out to Mr. Mitchell. He could not fall to pieces right there in the classroom. He was not that weak. "You're not in a good place at all, Tyray," Mr. Mitchell added when he did not reply. Tyray jerked forwards in the chair, swallowing his emotions. "What you talking about, Mr. Mitchell? I ain't had no more detentions. I'm doing good." "Oh, sure, you've been staying out of trouble, and that's great," Mr. Mitchell said. "But you're torn up on the inside. I know how the gods have been riding you. I see what's going on. But look, you can get through this and come out the other side a stronger, better kid. You can make a fresh start. You'll be surprised how things can turn around once people see you're making an honest effort to change." "Yeah, right. Wait until you see how I change things," Tyray thought, imagining the feel of the gun in his hands. He forced a fake smile and said, "You're right, Mr. Mitchell. I'll try changing. I've already decided to spend more time studying." "Maybe you want to join a sport like wrestling. It did a world of good for Darrell Mercer. I know Coach Lewis will welcome you on the squad once your wrist heals," Mr. Mitchell said. Tyray boiled at the mention of Darrell's name. There was no way he would spend a second with the kid who ruined his reputation except to get revenge. Again, he swallowed hard before speaking. "I'll think about it, Mr. Mitchell. Maybe I'll even talk to Mercer about it," Tyray said, smiling coldly as he pictured his future confrontation with Darrell. "Right now, I'm spending a lot of time studying, trying to bring up my grades and stuff, so I ain't got much time for sports." "Tyray, you got to get that chip off your shoulder, okay?" the teacher said, studying Tyray's face as if he were looking for a clue to a mystery. "If you say so, Mr. Mitchell," Tyray replied. "But believe me, I ain't got problems with nobody. I'm just minding my own business." "Okay, Tyray," Mr. Mitchell sighed. "If you ever need somebody to talk to, I'm here, okay?" Tyray stood up and walked out of the classroom wearing a phony grin. He didn't need to talk with Mr. Mitchell. What he needed was $50, and he needed it fast.